Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we got another news video here to discussing some signings from the past couple of days, PTO updates, retirement, plus some trade rumors involving the Anaheim Ducks, the Winnipeg Jets, Vancouver Canucks, Toronto Maple Leafs, and Philadelphia Flyers. So we'll go to all that coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to the video here at the Intent Hockey Channel. Before we get into the video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below. Thank you for all your support when I was with all of you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below and don't leave a comment down in the comment section below so you can also see this video. Now, hello everyone, this is my last video I'm going to be doing here. As I talked about, today or tomorrow it's most likely going to come out on Sunday. I'm recording this on Saturday though, but this is going to be my last video here at this house. I've told you guys before, I'm moving, so it's going to take me a week or two to get set up at the new place. So as I've talked about, I have a couple of pre-recorded videos set up for you guys for over the next week and a half until I'm ready to get back into the swing of things. So this is going to be my last video for over the next little while, so I can't wait to see you guys at my new place. But like I said, got a couple pre-recorded videos for the next little while, but this is going to be my last video at this place. So thank you guys for supporting me while I was doing the YouTube channel here, and hopefully we'll have great success at our new place. So interesting note there. But in today's video, we got a couple of things to discuss here. We're going to start as usual by discussing some signings. Only one signing from our past couple days, and it was an interesting one. RFA for Jacob Pelletier with Calgary Flames has finally signed with them. The RFA gets a one-year $800,000 deal with the Calgary Flames. Pretty good pickup there for the Flames. Pelletier is coming off a season last year where he had a goal and 2 assists with 3 points in 13 NHL games and also had 12 points in 18 AHL games. Looks like eventually he's going to be a solid top 9 forward. I think he could even challenge for top 9 role this year too. Might not be able to get it, but I think he should be able to be a really solid top 9 forward there for the Flames. So to see him get a one-year $800,000 deal is going to be pretty good, and I think he should be a really good player there for the Calgary Flames. So that's a pretty good pickup there for Calgary. On top of that, Taro Heroes, who was a former AHLer, got some looks at the NHL lineup, mostly with the Detroit Red Wings, has signed overseas in the DEL with Red Bull Munich. So that's a pretty good pickup there for the DEL, which is the German league. So he should be a really good pickup there over in the German league. So interesting to see Heroes go overseas. And then we saw a couple of PTOs as well. Matt Martin has signed a PTO with the New York Islanders. So that's pretty interesting. Martin's back in New York, at least on a PTO. They have said also that they're not bringing back Clutterbuck, so Clutterbuck will be needing to find a new home elsewhere, but Martin is back on a PTO, so I do wonder if they're able to give him maybe like a one-year cheap deal to remain with New York. So it'll be interesting to see, but Martin is going to training camp on a PTO with the New York Islanders. And Alex Stalock has decided to retire from hockey. So like we said, Stalock suffered long-term illness a couple of years ago back during the COVID-shortened season. So interesting to note there, but Stalock has retired. Stalock looked like eventually could be a solid goaltender, was for a couple of years in Minnesota. I think he played in Edmonton too, but he never could find footing after his illness. He did get a couple stints at the NHL level, mostly an AHL goaltender, but he's decided to call it a career. So interesting note there, but Stalock's retired from NHL, so interesting note there. And then Matt Martin's going to New York I camp on a PTO. Taro Heroes is going overseas and signing over in the German league. And Jacob Pelletier, who's an RFA in Calgary, is finally signed. So interesting note there. And lastly, going over to a couple of trade rumors here. In today's video, we're looking at a couple of teams. We're going to start here with the Philadelphia Flyers. We're going to Kevin Kurz of The Athletic. He believes Farabee is going to be a really interesting new to watch early on this season for the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, Farabee's been in a lot of speculation trade-wise this offseason. He's a really good top 6 forward, coming off a better season of his career, putting up 22 goals and 50 points, but he definitely was inconsistent, especially in the second half of the season. Some people think that maybe there's some sort of trouble between Torts and Farabee. Not sure if that's true or not. It's quite possible it's not true, but a lot of people think that Torts might like other players more than he likes Farabee. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens during the season for Farabee and the Flyers. Like, Farabee's making $5 million for I think the next 4 seasons. Like we said, he can be a solid 25 to 30 goal scorer. In the right situation, he might be able to eventually be a solid 40 goal scorer, and he's young, so I'm not sure if the Flyers really want to move him, but he's also got a really high cap hit, as we said, $5 million, and he would be able to free up some cap space for them to help other areas of their situation. So like we said, they're in a rebuild, they could use that sort of cap flexibility. So interesting note there, but it does seem like the start of the season is going to be important to Farabee, because if he doesn't do overly well and he's like inconsistent again in the first like 20, 25, 30 games, there's definitely going to be some more trade speculation when it comes to Farabee leading up to deadline until he's moved. So I definitely think there's a possibility we could see Farabee get moved at some point, especially if he doesn't start well, and that's what Kevin Kurz is saying with The Athletic, is he'll be a player to watch over the first few games for the Philadelphia Flyers. So interesting note there, but according to Kevin Kurz of The Athletic, he thinks that Farabee is going to be a name to watch out for early on in the season, so we have to watch out for that. Going over to Toronto Maple Leafs, there have been a couple of recent reports saying that after Yanni Hakanpää signing, with them now having Hakanpää, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Logren, at least for time being, McCabe, Benoit, Riley, and Tanev, that there's not really a whole bunch of spots for another defenseman, and they currently have Connor Timmins on their roster as well right now, and they are a little bit over the cap, so a lot of people think that Connor Timmins' time in Toronto is coming to an end. Now, he could be placed on waivers. That's something that a lot of people have also been mentioning. He's making $1.1 million, so it doesn't have to be a trade. They can risk putting him on waivers, but there's no guarantee that he would clear. Timmins being traded, they could potentially get maybe like a 5th or 6th round pick for him. Like, Timmins is still a decent prospect and can be a solid 6th or 7th defenseman, but with the injury history in his career from over the past couple of years, I think that a lot of teams wouldn't give up much for him, so we're gonna have to wait and see on that. But according to a couple of reports, it does sound like Timmins is basically the odd man out in Toronto, and whether that's being placed on waivers, risking losing him for nothing, or maybe making a small deal that can get like a low-end draft pick for him, it does seem like Timmins will get moved at some point for the Toronto Maple Leafs, especially after the signing of Yanni Hakanpää. So expect the Leafs to either via waivers or via a trade move Timmins at some point during the training camp before the season starts. Going over to the Winnipeg Jets, recently on The Athletic, Murat Yates was talking about Nikolai Ehlers and what the Jets might do with him. He says that Ehlers this upcoming season, how he does is going to be really impactful to his future in Winnipeg. Now, there's been some people out there who have said that maybe the Jets do the same sort of thing they did with Scheifele and Hellebuyck last year, where right before season starts they sign Ehlers to like a long-term extension, and that's a possibility. They're not going to rule that out by any means, but I think Scheifele and Hellebuyck were a little bit more important to that team as a top-line center and starting goaltender than Ehlers is as a top-6 winger. So I think there's a less likelihood of a chance that before season starts that happens. Also, it seems like Ehlers is more intent on waiting closer to the free agency push next year than I think Scheifele and Hellebuyck were of waiting. So it definitely seems like it's a possibility, but I don't think it's a guarantee by any means. On top of that, there's been some recent reports from Murat Yates saying that this upcoming season is going to be pivotal for the Ehlers to stay or go with the Jets. He says if Ehlers is not doing overly well and the Jets aren't doing overly well by the deadline, then there's a very likely chance that we could see Ehlers be moved at some point. They have a couple of pending UFAs this upcoming season, like I think Neil Pionk's one of them. There's a couple of other guys who are pending UFAs in the Jets system, so if they're not doing overly well, there's a very likely chance they could start moving off some pieces, and Ehlers might be one of them, especially given all the rumors he's been through this offseason. But there's also a lot of speculation according to Yates that it's a possibility as well that if he has a really good season, maybe he extends with the Jets later on into the season. It's a possibility as well. So according to Yates, he thinks that the way Ehlers plays this year and also the way the Jets play this year are going to be really impactful to whether Ehlers stays and is going to be a Jet for the next couple of years and signs an extension, or whether Ehlers winds up being traded or potentially walks as a free agent. So we're going to have to wait and see on Ehlers, but this is a pivotal season for him. He needs to have a solid season if he's going to have any chance of remaining with the Jets, and the Jets need to have a solid season. Otherwise, they could try and move off some pieces like I've been talking about, and Ehlers might be one of them. So we're going to have to wait and see on the Jets. Going over to the Vancouver Canucks. Now, going over to Vancouver Canucks, there was a recent report from Shatir Shaw, and he was talking about the Vancouver Canucks on Sportsnet, and he was saying that the Canucks, if he was the GM, he thinks that he should trade one of the top 2 prospects in the Vancouver Canucks organization to move to a different place to get a top 4 defenseman that could help them for the long run. Now, that does make some sense, but I would not move one of the top 2 prospects. The Canucks' top 2 prospects are Jonathan Lekkerimaki and Tom Willander. And those 2 guys are fantastic prospects. Lekkerimaki has a wicked shot. He has been really good over in Europe over the past couple of years. I think he's going to get his first into AHL level this year, and I think Lekkerimaki is going to be eventually a stud top 6 winger there for the Canucks. Meanwhile, Willander is a little bit lower than I think Lekkerimaki is, but he still has really great potential. He's going to be a future top 4 right shot defenseman. Those things don't come by too often. He looks like a very fantastic player playing in college right now. I know he's not going to be like at the NHL level this year, and that's sort of the reasoning for this sort of statement, as Shaw says that even though they have really good prospects, they're not going to help them win right now, so move one of those guys, whether Willander or Lekkerimaki, for a top 4 upgrade. And I think they will try and add some more to their defense. Not sure if it'll be at some point in training camp or maybe closer to the trade deadline, and I do expect them to try and improve and bolster his teams. I expect them to be a playoff team again this year, but on top of that, I still would move Lekkerimaki or Willander. I mean, both those guys, like I said, very good future top 6 forward, top 4 defensemen. They need those guys in my opinion. So I could see a move lower end guys. I could see them maybe move a first round draft pick or other draft picks that they have. If it was to get them a top 4 defenseman, that could really help this team right now. But I would not move Lekkerimäki or Willander at this point in time. So that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Do you think it would be a smart idea for the Canucks to trade a guy like Lekkerimäki or Willander for the Canucks to try and improve their top 4 and get a top 4 upgrade? Maybe someone who's on the younger side of things and sign for a couple more years. Would that be a smart move for the Canucks, or would it be more smart for them to try and just hold on to Willander and Lekkerimäki and keep them for the time being? I'd definitely love your guys' thoughts on that. And lastly, going over to Anaheim Ducks. According to Eric Stevens of The Athletic, he was talking about Cam Fowler. He mentions 4 teams who may be serious teams to consider in a potential Cam Fowler. We talked about this over the past little while. Fowler's a guy whose names been mentioned over the past little while, ever since LA Freeman mentioned him on a 32 Thoughts podcast last week. Fowler's a really good top 4 defenseman. He's on the left side. He's got 2 years left, I think, at $6.5 million, so it's not an overly long-term or high-money deal, especially for a guy who can play top 4, top pair minutes. So with that in mind, there's apparently a couple of teams that Stevens links that could potentially work out for a guy like Fowler. There's 2 Atlantic Division teams and 2 Central Division teams, and he links Toronto, Detroit, Winnipeg, and Dallas as potential landing spots. Now, some of these make sense, some of these don't. If you look at Detroit, they just moved on from Jake Wallman. They brought in Eric Gustafsson, but they also lost Shane Goss to spare, so their defense definitely took a little bit of a hit. And on top of that, we've talked about this a little bit, they have a very old blue line. I mean, if you look at their blue line, Mata's getting up there in age, Petrie's definitely up there in age, as is Sherratt, Hull's being overpaid at this point in time, so they have a lot of really high-priced and older type veteran defensemen. So adding a guy who is also older too, but I think more of a top 4 defenseman than guys like Petrie and Sherratt are at this point in their career, I mean, I think he could be a really good fit on a top pair with a guy like Moritz Seider. So I think that could be a really good fit there for the Red Wings. On top of that, the Leafs, like we just talked about, they have a really good blue line now, so I wouldn't say it's a guarantee that they try and acquire him, but if they were to move a guy like Timothy Liljegren, that could be an interesting add there. Maybe it's a sort of like a deadline move for the Leafs. That could be an interesting upgrade there for the Leafs, so I could see why they might have some interest. We're talking about the Jets taking a hit on the blue line this year, losing guys like Nate Schmidt and Brendan Dillon, and trying to get some of their youth in there. If the youth isn't working at the trade deadline, I could definitely see the Jets trying to improve their blue line by adding a guy like Cam Fowler, especially with some of the other guys potentially UFAs as well. And for the Dallas Stars, like he mentions, they did take a couple of losses this year, losing Tanev, losing Hakanpää, adding Dumba and Lyubushkin. They're a little bit worse, I think, than last year. So if they were to move a defenseman and get a guy like Cam Fowler, I think that could be a beautiful add there for the Dallas Stars. So we're going to have to wait and see, but according to Eric Stevens, 4 teams he links as a potential landing spots for Cam Fowler will be the Red Wings, Maple Leafs, Jets, and Stars. And I can see reasons why all 4 of those teams would love to add a guy like Cam Fowler. So definitely have to get your thoughts on all of this down in the comment section below. That's all I'm going to talk about for today. What do you think about the Fowler? Does he get moved? And if so, could it be to Dallas, Winnipeg, Toronto, or Detroit? Do the Canucks wind up moving Willander or Lekkerimäki for a top 4 upgrade on the defensive end? Or do they keep those 2 guys? Does Farabee get moved in season? And if so, where could he go? Does Timmins get moved to training camp? Is it waivers? Is it trade? And if so, where does he go? And do you think Ehlers gets moved, or does he extend in Winnipeg? Definitely have your thoughts on all of that. Plus, what else do you think about the signings, PTO updates, and other things we talked about in this video? Definitely let me know your thoughts on all of that down in the comment section below. So I'm going to talk for today. I'm going to tell you this video. If you like it, subscribe down below. Thank you for all your support. We're now to help you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below. Don't forget to comment down in the comment section below. So something else in this video. I also have a blog talking about news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that. So check that out. Leave a link down in the description below. And can't wait to see you guys all for the next video. See you guys soon.